Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're diving into the world of marketing, digital marketing, advertising, websites, social media, you name it. We've got our expert. He's a City Current partner as well, so he is powering the good with his team with Element 47. It's Eric Jackson, the founder and CEO of Element 47. Eric, how are you doing?
Doing great. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So you've been on before and you've told all the funny stories and tying it to Element 47 in terms of the name and coming up with the company, but give us a little bit of that context in terms of your backstory, coming up with the name Element 47, and then we'll dive into everything that's going on right now, latest and greatest.
Yeah, so if you're of a certain age, you've probably had that going on vacation story with your family. You don't know how long you're going to be in the car. You don't know how much time has passed. We didn't have devices like we do now to tell us, and the only thing that we could go by were the signs on the side of the road or our parents. And so the questions, how much longer, how many more miles, when are we going to get there, are the questions that we ask our parents. And one day my dad decided that instead of trying to answer those questions, he would just say 47. And we thought it was funny at first, and then we realized that it was basically the cue to stop asking me questions and bother the truckers as they pass by. So, and one day it came to me that that same kind of thing happens with us all the time. We have people come to us, give us just a little bit of information and then start to ask those questions about, how long is this going to take? What's it going to cost? What will the result be? And without some real knowledge and diving in and peeling the onion, so to speak, we can't really effectively answer those questions. So, and oddly enough, the thing that really drives all of that for us is strategy. It's asking questions and creating a cohesive strategy. Well, we decided to call that the strategic roadmap, based on the founding story. And I think my dad would find that funny. I don't know that he understands exactly what I do. But yeah, so and I know whether something's going to be successful or not by how can we shift the mindset of our prospect from, hey, I want to do this thing I've heard about or that I think is going to work, back to what is the strategy? Who are your best customers? How are we going to get in front of more of them? What pains did you solve for them? And what does your competition do? What sets you apart from them? Where do you want to be in the marketplace? You don't want to be exactly like them probably, and how do you set yourself apart? So few companies have ever taken that deep dive and written all those things down and been very thoughtful about it. The best way to do that is not around a table of people inside the company, but to have somebody from the outside come in and guide and ask those questions that maybe you wouldn't ask otherwise, and dig for answers that you wouldn't know to look for. So it can be you can either aim, ready, aim, fire, or ready, fire, aim in marketing. And when I know that we have an opportunity when people come to us and say, I want to do this particular thing. And getting that mindset changed is crucial.
Dive into the specializations on your end, and then we'll definitely talk about strategy versus tactics and some of those main mind shift changes that need to happen to be successful. But give us a scope of all that you do. Okay.
Well, we started out just building websites 18 years ago. And so we've got deep experience there. Still have the first employee that I hired. He is a rock, the kind of guy that, he's there to do the same thing every day, and he finishes. And that is the hardest part about being in that business, because things can linger. You know what I'm talking about, and it just seems like it's never going to end. But he's the guy that gets things done, and he's very technically oriented. And in order to really do a good job on the web, you not only have to tell the story the right way and have it look good, but it has to work technically across a number of platforms. So we're really adept at that. Gotten a lot of e-commerce work recently with the pandemic wreaking havoc on normal business patterns. We've gotten a lot of opportunities to help people get their products and services online where they can be sold. And for example, we've got one client that's in the healthcare space. They sell into healthcare. We've got two of them now. and they're not able to get in front of people like they used to be, and so they have to provide more information in an electronic format. So we also do some of the standard digital marketing things. We're creating content in many cases, so blog posts that live on the client's website. We want them to have their own site, be the center, the hub of everything that we do for marketing. Those blog posts, of course, serve to be a bait, if you will, for search engines, and we want the search engines to find it and rank it well for the keywords and phrases that we're trying to rank for. And those same things are going to attract the right people to that website. So we're constantly working on what we call organic search engine optimization. So getting their people to your site without having to pay. Another offshoot of that is pay-per-click. So, for example, everybody wants to be on page 1 of Google. Page 2 is nowhere to be. That's the best place to bury a body. Nobody ever looks there. And then if you want instant credibility and get to the top of the search engines, you can pay, and you can do that. It is based on what other people are willing to pay for certain keywords and phrases, so it can be expensive, but it is possible to get you up there really quickly and get good qualified traffic based on what you're trying to, the market that you're trying to reach. We do email marketing, and we can do all sorts of things there, automations, that when people click on certain things, it triggers other activities. It turns into a drip campaign, essentially, and you're hands-off at that point and letting the system go through the process. Social media is very important. Some organizations say, you know, I'm really not down for social. Well, we almost always say you need to pick a couple at least and do something, because it's one more outlet. Somebody's going to go look at your site, wonder why you're not on social, or if you are, why is it that the last time they posted was 2017? So it's, again, it's when people are coming to look at your website presence, they're going to end up there eventually, and you want to make it look like that you know what you're talking about the things that your customers are interested in, and that you give them some sort of idea of what they need to do next if they're interested in connecting with you and going to that next level, whether that's schedule an appointment, schedule a consultation, or I want to buy this right now.
Yeah, and dive into strategy versus tactics, because as you mentioned, having an outside group who knows the right questions to ask is critical, who obviously has the experience and the expertise. And so a lot goes into the experience side of this, but talk about, as you mentioned, there's a big difference between ready, aim, fire versus ready, fire, aim. And so talk about strategy, tactics, and where you like to start, and then building out that execution and that plan.
Well, you know, we start asking the big picture questions, and what we really want to end up with is, what is the customer experience going to be with this particular website? And as an example, you know, everybody has experienced e-commerce. I think Amazon has done a pretty good job with that. They seem to sell a lot of things, but we have inherited e-commerce products, and people told us, well, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. And then when we start digging in and asking about how that transaction occurs and what expectations are, there are just lots of holes there. So when somebody goes into that experience, they're not having a good experience because nobody's really thought about what they want. It's just somebody checked the box and said, let's build an e-commerce site, and that's it. And there was no real digging there. Same thing happens with Google Ads all the time, or other types of, you know, Facebook advertising, Instagram. I hear this, you know, have you tried Google AdWords? Yes, it didn't work. It doesn't work for us. Okay, what did you do? Well, we placed ads. Okay, and they went where? Well, they went to our homepage. Well, you know, if you've got somebody's attention with an ad in a particular product, you want to give them a landing page where it's all about that one thing that they clicked on. They made a decision to click for a reason. They're either interested or they're ready to buy something. And if you don't make it stupid simple for them, then it's not going to work. You don't want to choose your own adventure, right? You want, hey, here is the adventure that we know you're interested in. Do the thing that we're asking you to do, and we'll take it to the next step. So those are the sorts of things that really come out in strategy. And even if the customer or the prospect comes to us with tactics, we run it through that filter and make sure that that thing that they want to do is actually what's good for them. And we have to run that other filter. What is your goal? What does a win look like to you? What is going to make you and your team, after writing that check to Element 47, say, yeah, they knocked it out of the park? And that's what we're all focused on. And if we can't be focused on that, there's probably a lot less chance everybody's going to be successful.
What has your attention right now in terms of things that are hot, topics, trends? What has your attention right now?
I'm interested in what is going to happen with the big tech companies and their advertising platforms with regard to reach. So I know someone who can no longer target their market because of some changes to what analytics are being allowed on certain platforms. So there may be a rollback. We've got lots of data right now. People are giving their data away. People hate to hear that are on Facebook and Instagram and all these other platforms. You're essentially giving advertisers your demographic data and the things that you're interested in, and then they sell to you, which is great because if you like, guitars, and that's what you're going to see on a regular basis. My wife always knows when I'm off on some tangent looking at something that I might want to buy because she starts getting advertising for it too at the same time. So in that way, it's good for the consumer, but I also understand the idea that it's a little creepy, and I think some organizations take advantage of that. We don't need to get into that at a deeper level, but it'll be interesting to see what the culture and politicians think about how those organizations need to change. And some of them are doing it now just voluntarily. Apple is starting to increase the privacy restrictions and put that in the hands of the consumer, which I think ultimately is a good thing. So you can, at that point, you can choose whether you want advertising delivered to you that's tailored to your needs and interests.
Give me one tip, and you've kind of given a couple throughout, which is really good, but especially on the call to action with the point that if someone is seeing an ad, then you need to have a call to action that is specific to that product or service, so that way they can activate right on it. But give me one more good tip when it comes to digital marketing and storytelling and tying in that you would encourage for all businesses.
I would tell you that the most important thing is being authentic. More so than even being super polished and looking, all Hollywood. You want people to understand what your organization is like. So if I'm going to take my wife out on a date and tell her, hey, you've got to check out this new restaurant. It's called McDonald's. It's going to be a white tablecloth sort of experience according to their advertising. They say that they're really a delicious meal for foodies, and we get there and it's McDonald's, then that's a problem. If I'm looking for something fast to eat and there's really limited choices, maybe McDonald's okay at that point. But you want the essence of your brand, the essence of who you are as a company, and what you do and how you treat people to come through in whatever it is that you do. And if that means an iPhone photo as opposed to having a professional photographer come in, great. It's more important. And my professors back in college, my major was advertising. They beat into our head. It's better to be consistent and maybe even consistently bad than inconsistent. I think there are several examples of that in advertising. Progressive Insurance, for example. I mean, you can't outrun those guys. Geico, they spend a lot of money, and everybody knows their ads. And, if you're not out there telling your story, somebody else is going to put theirs in front of yours, and yours is not going to be heard. So just be authentic, do something.
So talk about the difference between a company hiring a marketing person versus a digital marketing agency where you've got a full breadth of services and opportunities and talent. Talk about the difference between those two.
So this comes up a lot. I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and they get to a certain point in their business and they realize that they're maybe they're plateaued, and they think about hiring a marketing person. And I always tell them, well, great, let me apply for that job. And they look at me like I've got two heads and say, no, seriously, let's walk through what your qualifications for this job are. And essentially everything that they can answer, I can tell them I can do that job, meaning Element 47. But if you have an individual who's going to be the sole marketing person for an organization, you have to be a lot more specific and have to know exactly what you're trying to get that person to do. In other words, you have to be strategic before you hire that person, and most business owners are not ready for that. They hire a marketing person and think, well, I want them to do social and maybe redo the website. And so you add all these things onto this job description that is it's soup to nuts. It's like everything in marketing, and a lot of those activities that we engage in marketing have vastly different skills associated with them. So you can't expect one person to do all of that. And so I guess obviously for the purposes of this demonstration, I own an agency. I would rather see companies like that use an agency and have a good process for picking the agency, but have somebody that's outsourced that can give you all of those things that are going to make you successful, and not just be when when your only tool is a hammer, every problem, when your only tool is a hammer, every problem becomes a nail. The typical agency won't approach things like that, unlike maybe an individual would.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I would encourage people to do is figure out what your marketing budget is. What are you willing to spend each month on marketing? That can include a budget for a paid employee, but if you hire that person, you're also going to have to give them some money to make a splash in the marketplace. If you're just paying them to show up, you might as well get them one of those cardboard arrows and have them stand out on the sidewalk, because there really isn't a whole lot they can do aside from show up at work and send emails and call people. It's just there's limited things there. So don't forget to understand what your needs are and what's an appropriate budget, and act accordingly.
Absolutely. Good advice. Wrap up on your end with contact information. So your website, social media, phone number, where would you direct everyone to learn more about Element 47?
Yes, website is element47.co, not .com. If you go to .com, you're welcome to. There's a lady there who wrote a book on collecting silver antiques. Lovely site. The Element47.co is Instagram, but I would just tell you, go to the website. Phone number is 629-234-0047. And would love to talk to you. If you're just sort of starting out in the adventures of figuring out what your marketing needs to look like, one of my favorite things to do is just ask people a few questions and then help them either find someone that's appropriate for them. Hopefully I can help them. If not, I can at least give them a leg up in having some success with their business and their marketing.
Absolutely. Well, Eric, thank you for all you and your team do. Thank you for being cityCURRENT partners with us in Nashville. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for coming on the show.
You bet. Thanks, Jeremy.